Hey everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. Entitled Parents versus Firefighters. Another story from several years ago. Another bushfire, another community at risk. The plan is simple. Start a backburn along the back fences of the community to create a fire break and to contain the fire. The wind is blowing towards the community, so the backburn will be going against the wind. Good conditions. 90% of the residents put up with the smoke and either close windows and doors or come up and talk to us over the fence, asking if they can do anything. Now, I will take this time to mention that we were wearing full-face respirators to protect our lungs from the smoke. We can barely talk out of them. And when you are next to a running pump, you can barely hear anything. So, back to the story, we are walking along and pause at a house to monitor the burn. There is quite a fuel load, so we want to make sure it is burnt. Don't notice anything until we see a resident trying to use our second hose line. What? A quick discussion ensues. This mother had come out to inform us that the smoke was affecting her kid. Okay, this happened, so what? She had come out to demand that we put out the fire we were lighting, and when we ignored her, she then decided to do it herself. A quick apology, it's noisy, we didn't hear you. She is understanding, but still insists that we put out the fire, or give her kid one of our masks. No, I am not going to affect my health for your kid. Also, he hasn't done the course. We advise her to close her windows and doors, but we are going to burn to protect her house. This is where she demands to see our commander, who at this point in time is hiding in the cab. He gets out, walks up to her, and issues an on-the-spot fine for obstruction of an emergency service. Let's just say for a while after that incident, the bush behind her property was burnt quite regularly. After all, we have to reduce the hazard to the community. If you were out here fighting this fire, and this lady walks up to you, and she starts taking the reins, and you hear her explanation about her child, what do? Do you try to get the commander? Do you just ignore her? Do you maybe even give the kid the respirator? Let me know what you would do in the comments below. Entitled Family Aunt desecrates a family grave to obtain a priceless family heirloom for herself. Yes, the title is very real, and I cannot wait to tell you what happened here. In case this question comes up, the family is on my father's side, my grandfather's mother. Several months ago, before the lockdown occurred, my great-grandmother passed away from old age. She was 108. In the early life, she worked as a jeweler. She made beautiful jewelry for the entire village she worked in. Her most prized jewelry was a rare opal ring she kept with her at all times. It is extremely valuable, and she never ever takes it off unless it's for cooking or bathing. Entitled Aunt was always jealous of the ring because she keeps saying, "I never have nice things." Just like her family, even though her background comes from a pretty wealthy family. Her children at the time were already back with her after they spent a few months in an orphanage until such time she was fit to be a mother again. Her children are the most criminally insane pieces of poops you will ever meet. They have no sense of what belongs to who and would simply take and take and take. One time they took my phone and got angry because they couldn't unlock it. Story for another day. Anyways, back to my great-grandmother. I was very close to my great-grandmother as she was always telling me her stories about finding certain jewels during her many travels. Her family was poor, but that didn't stop her when she grew up. She basically helped them out of the poor side with her skills. During the will reading and instructional works for the funeral, my great-grandmother specifically said that she be buried with the opal ring. Any of the other jewels, on the other hand, went to me. Entitled Aunt did not like this. She demanded that great-grandmother gives her the opal ring at least, as she deserves since she is a part of the family. Even though genetically, she isn't. The will stated that any requests will be immediately denied as great-grandma spent years to make sure everyone got a fair deal on the will. I was most surprised by her generosity since she hardly trusted anyone in handling her large collection. By the way, she had like 150 different jewels. Entitled Aunt was warned by her lawyer that she would get nothing if she ever made a fuss. Which, by the way, she did get her watch, which she didn't know was worth like 50,000 euro. Entitled Aunt got furious that she just got a stupid old watch while everyone else got something way better than her. Not true, my uncle got her car, which hasn't started for 20 years. Entitled Aunt stormed out with her kids and husband. my uncle that got the car, and never showed up until the funeral. It was a simple funeral, just talking about how she was in the past. Her crazy antics, like that time she accidentally set her house on fire. Don't leave the grease pot nearby, kids. And of course, her many travels in her youth to many countries to make her precious jewels. Said goodbye to her and so on. She was buried in our large estate of all our families buried. That was that, right? Wrong. Entitled Aunt and her family, including my uncle, wanted to stay with us for a while as they were still grieving. She gave a poop about that except for my uncle. So we agreed to have them stay with us just for a few days. On the second day, I was making myself a drink when I noticed Entitled Aunt cleaning something with many cleaning products. I said, "Entitled Aunt, what are you doing?"
"Oh, hi, OP. This ring is amazing on me, right?"
"Where did you get the ring?"
"From great-grandmother, of course. I talked with her lawyer and he couldn't bear to see that gone, so he gave it to me."
"I don't believe you for a second. Tell me where you got that ring or I am telling Uncle."
"I don't know what you're talking about. I got this ring fair and square."
"Alright, I believe you." And I left the room. I went outside just to think what to do. Go to the police or go to my grandma and the lawyer? So I called a lawyer and told her what happened. The lawyer said, "Are you sure you saw great-grandmother's opal ring?" "Yes, I'm positive." The lawyer said, "Alright, I'm going to call the police, see me at the estate." So I got in my car and drove straight there. What we saw was gruesome. Dirt everywhere and broken stones and great-grandmother's coffin halfway open with the ring and her finger missing. I can't tell you how much of a gruesome sight this was. Like, I blinked many times thinking it wasn't real, but it was. I was sick in my stomach of how much someone would go for just a stupid ring. Like, I get you're angry, but idiot, don't go starting to desecrate a family grave site. I called my uncle and told him what happened. He also couldn't believe it. He was also wondering whether to call the cops or not after seeing the opal ring on Entitled Family Aunt's finger. The police came and arrested Entitled Aunt for grave robbing, misdemeanor, and desecration of a family gravesite, theft, and breaking and entering. I did not know there was such a thing as grave robbing or desecration of a family gravesite, but apparently it's a thing. The extended family got light of what happened and practically shunned Entitled Aunt before her sentencing. Due to the severity of the crime, the court was done rather quickly without a jury. Entitled Aunt admitted that the children played part in it as well, although they had no clue that their so-called treasure hunt was to steal a family heirloom. I didn't believe that for a second. They see a body yet continue to steal from it? Without a heartbeat, the judge sentenced her to 3.5 years in prison. Should be more. And 4 years probation. As well as her children being taken away again, she was also fined €25,000 for damages in the estate. Since she hasn't done anything to the ring, that was a short sentence, 6 months. But because she practically cut a finger off a dead body, that kinda gave 3 more years. Fortunately, Uncle couldn't take care of the kids because biologically they aren't his kids. Previous marriage of Entitled Aunt. And financially, he wasn't stable enough to take care of all 3 of them. Entitled Aunt pleaded with the judge to reduce the sentence, but was immediately denied, saying that this has shed light on her very selfish behavior. Despite being a good know-it-all piece of poop, she has had trouble in her youth with theft of such similar crimes. So, while she is in prison, she will also be investigated. Only just 2 weeks ago, everything was finalized with her. I was contemplating whether to post this or not. After she was arrested, we went to no contact with her. The children have been put with a distant relative of Entitled Aunts in another country. Uncle went back home taking care of things to move back to our town. He is better now that she is gone. I am sure some of you will ask what I did with the jewels I inherited. I put it in a private safety box in the bank so if I ever needed some cash, I could sell the jewels to jewel shops or auctions, and considering there are 150 of them, I won't be having an issue. I think that's one of the sickest things you could do. Go and desecrate a grave like that, especially of someone you're related to, just because you're jealous? I just can't fathom it, honestly. Entitled Mom tells 11-year-old to defy the principal so that she could get another picture of her 4-year-old son. Be aware that I was only 11 years old at the time. At the time, I was living in the UK and was on my last few days of primary school, which meant that as we were the oldest in the school, we were asked to do a lot of stuff. On the day of the story, me and a few of my friends were helping out at a nursery sports day, field day in the US. We were each in charge of running a station where these children could do different sports, such as jumping or throwing. Before the event started, we were given clear advice from the head teacher, principal, only to do the activity until a whistle blew. As the children were so young, most of them had parents who were cheering them on and generally not being too annoying. Sadly though, most is not all. Enter entitled mother and her son.
Can you please let my son go in front?
Me, not wanting a confrontation, okay. So I let her son go to the front of the line for these bouncy space hoppers, which her 4-year-old son could not do. Me being nice, gave him a hand and bounced him up in the air. Entitled mother, after his turn,
can you have another turn because you were in the way of my photos?
Me taken aback by the rudeness as he wouldn't have made it on his own. No, I'm sorry, the head teacher said no.
But I want another picture of him, you rude a-hole.
I can't, the head teacher gave clear instructions not to let anyone on after the whistle. Entitled mother grabs her poor son from the sports day and runs away to complain to the principal. Luckily, I never heard from her again. Field day was one of my favorite things to do at school, so I feel bad for this kid because he's missing out because of the mother's dumb attitude. A mother and child try to steal my dog. So for some backstory, I have a dog named Archie. We have had him since last summer and have loved him ever since. For people asking for pictures of him, I think there's one on Reddit somewhere. Anyways, I took him out for a walk today into the forest near my house like I usually do. The walk went as usual up until we were on our way back home. We had just reached our neighbor's fence when I heard a scream and running behind us. It was I'm guessing 5-year-old boy running towards us, her mother behind him. I have gotten used to this type of reaction when walking with Archie. He is a white West Siberian Laika, so people seeing him and gasping isn't really anything special to me. But this felt different. Here comes the following convo. The kid says, "What's its name?" I say, "His name is Archie. You may pet him, he doesn't hurt you." Entitled mother says,
"Hello, what nice dog you got. What breed is he?"
I say, "Thanks, he is a West Siberian Laika."
"Are you sure he is a Laika? Looks like a Samoyed to me."
They do look similar, but Samoyeds have thicker fur.
"Look, kid, I am older than you and know more about everything than you do. He is a Samoyed. I bet you don't feed him properly and that's why he is so skinny."
Me searches images of Siberian Laikas and compare them to Samoyeds. They look different. I kneel down to the kid. "Hey kid, me and Archie are going home now. If you want to see him again, then he is in the yard a lot every single day." The kid says, "Okay, bye Archie." By the way, the kid was the cutest 5-year-old I have ever seen. So we had gotten back home and I was casually relaxing indoors. I let Archie outside because my mom was in the backyard. Sometime later, my mom came inside, leaving Archie outside. A couple minutes pass and I hear Archie barking and similar sounding voices outside. Archie barks all the time when someone walks past, but what made me look outside were the voices. It was the kid again, patting Archie, but I couldn't see the kid's mother, who I assumed was the other voice. I walk out of the front door to see the mother opening our front gate to let Archie out. I rush over to her to talk to her. "What are you doing?"
"You are mistreating your dog. I am letting him free."
"We saved the dog from a man who beat him with a metal pipe. Stop what you were doing or I will call the police." Because the gate opens inward, I just leaned on it so she couldn't open it. The entitled mother literally grabbed me from my jacket and punched me straight in my face. I fell down to the ground, which allowed her to just push the gate open. Then she asked the kid to come over to her. Archie, of course, followed the kid. Then, just like in a movie, my neighbor, who had seen everything happen, walked up to us wearing a leather jacket, sunglasses, and holding a replica lever-action shotgun. He looked like a freaking Terminator. He quickly told the mother to get back and got Archie back in my yard. The entitled mother was frozen in place. Meanwhile, her son didn't even care and was petting Archie again. My mom had already called the cops when she noticed that some stranger was trying to steal Archie, so the waiting didn't take long. After some civilized talking, entitled mother was accused of attacking me, entering private property, trying to steal Archie, and attacking a police officer after she tried to tear one's face off when she was asked to get inside the police car. I hope she gets some kind of sentence for doing all that stuff. That is ridiculous. Entitled parents wanted me to basically be a maid for my sister. I had a discussion with my dad, and I live in my own apartment. Sometimes I visit them from time to time. Anyways, one day during a visit, my dad was telling me about personal responsibilities. My dad was angry at me for being selfish. Basically, I live in an apartment with my sis. I do my own cooking, buy my own groceries, and clean the dishes daily. Also make sure my room is clean. My sis is more chaotic. I love her, but it is her personality. I do not boss her around. If she wants something, I will do it. She doesn't clean dishes, she uses clean dishes. Sometimes there are no clean spoons at all, like 20 used spoons. I told her once as a reminder to clean the dishes. I never nagged. I only asked once, and I took one plate and one spoon in my room that I clean daily. My sister also wanted me to wake her up for alarms. I usually wake up at 5 a.m. and I drive to work at 6:30 a.m. My sis goes to work at 9 a.m. and sometimes asks me to borrow my car. I told her I'm okay with it as long as she pays for gas. Anyways, my sis was ticked and says how selfish I was for not cleaning her dishes and giving her my car when I need it for business and work-related trips. She could afford to pay for an Uber. Anyways, when I visited my family, my dad drove his car and he was talking to me about responsibilities. He told me that I shouldn't be selfish. I told him I have work, I have friends, I clean my own dishes. I told him why can't she clean her own dishes? He said, don't blame others. I replied, you are blaming me. I also said, well, what about when you are in the house, don't you tell us to clean our own dishes? Why don't you have the responsibilities? He was angry and threatened to throw me out of the car. I said, you threatened to throw me out because I disagree with you. I don't owe her anything. It's her dishes and she can do her own dishes. My dad was like, you will never learn responsibilities. My mom said, your sister is busy. I was angry because I work from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. and I also work unpaid extra hours because I care about my job. I barely have free time and my sister works from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. I replied to my mother, and what, you think I have nothing to do? I then screamed at both my mom and dad, I am not a maid for her. I love my sister and my sister was just frustrated at herself because she realizes her mess can get out of hand. She uses plastic plates after that discussion. My parents tried to tell me how to behave again. Honestly, I mean, it wasn't the best reaction from my part, but like, is it called selfish if I don't want to be a maid and I want equal responsibilities or at least to each their own? I mean, I never even complained about her dishes and my parents always look at me as if I'm supposed to do something about it. I'm definitely on OP's side here. I believe that if you make a mess, you should clean that mess up. You shouldn't expect somebody else to clean up your own mess. It's pretty simple. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know is which of these stories were your personal favorite and why? Let me know which story piqued your interest the most in the comments below. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.